In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how to use Canvas and then how to use the robotics educational module. So we just logged into Canvas here, and you can see if you click on help, you can go to search Canvas guides, and if you click on the guide and say, just as an example, go to the instructor guide, and so maybe you want to learn how to put it in a quiz. So So I'm just clicking on this. How do I create a quiz with individual questions? And that leads you through setting up the quiz and how to add the questions. And you can see that there's a variety of types of questions you can put in, multiple choice and so on, fill in the blank, matching, numerical answer. So this gives you a way to, especially if you want to do formative quizzes, which are just to, if you show students a video or have them read something and you just want to have them answer a few questions, maybe low points, but and have it be automated. This especially important if you have a large class, and it automatically will put the grades into the grade book. And then as an instructor, you can go ahead and look at the results and see which question the students were having trouble on. So we'll talk about a little bit more about that in just a second. But let me, so also if in this particular course, which is housed by WPI, you can also, if I click on Canvas Faculty Orientation, so you can see this is actually through the WPI site. It's basically a course that teaches you how to use Canvas. So there's some of these links go back to the Canvas website, but there's some additional stuff here as well that may be helpful. So anyways, if we go now to the Robotics Education Resources course, and I'm just going to go ahead to modules. So the way this will be set up is there'll be a variety of topics. Right now we have the power transmissions as kind of a pilot module, so let's just talk about that one. So you can see there are other modules that have some videos but don't have any assessment or lab work or anything at this time. So first of all, in the power transmissions, right at the top here is objectives and the outline. So this will show you what the suggested preparation is. So in the case of power transmissions, you'd want to go through the videos on force analysis and motors before you have the students do this part. This shows this particular module objectives and then gives a little bit more detail about what is in this particular module. So and then typically you would start out with an introductory video. So if I play this video, for instance, you can turn the captions on or off and go to settings, subtitles, and actually if you want it, there are some languages here. It's not perfect, but it works fairly well, at least for some languages. So after the students watch the video, then the idea is that they would then take some kind of quiz. And educational research shows that if you give students some work to do and you don't assess it, then they usually either don't do it or they just don't learn it as well. So this would be just some low points, formative type quiz. And so if we click on that, and I'm just going to go to the edit just to show you a little bit about setting up the quiz. So in this particular quiz, it's a graded quiz. And we're letting the students see their correct answers after they submit it. And you can set the dates, you can set a code, require a code, an access code before students can access it. And then in terms of the questions, okay, for each question, in this case, I just have a series of multiple choice questions. And for some of the incorrect answers, we put in some feedback. So So for instance, in this one, you can see there's a fair amount of explanation in terms of why that explanation is not correct. Here you can also include a picture and so on. So you can provide some immediate feedback to the students on, they can see which answers they did correctly, answered correctly, and which questions they'd answered incorrectly, and then give them some feedback. Okay, so the interesting thing here is, say if you use the video as a, what's called an inverted or flipped classroom module. So you require them to watch it before you even discuss this in class, and then have them take the quiz. So now before you go to class, you can look at the quiz statistics. And for this particular group of students, I actually asked, there were some visiting people, and I just asked them to purposely answer some of the questions wrong so they could look at the feedback. So you can see that for each question. You can see how many students selected each answer. You can even click on those respondents to see who the students were and on any particular one. This is kind of interesting right here, this discrimination index. If it's more than 0.25, then it means that there is some correlation between this question and how they did on the test overall. So in other words, it breaks the class actually into three groups, three different levels, and so it can show you if most of the students who did well, for instance, if that 27% who got this correct also got high grades overall on the test, then that in those who didn't get an overall high grade, if they didn't get this question correct, answer it correctly, then the discrimination index would be higher. So generally anything above 0.25 shows some correlation there. So anyways, this shows you the overall class. And then if I go to grades, okay, and if I just pick on a particular student here, I can see all of the quizzes they've taken, or including homework assignments, labs, other types of submissions. So if I pick on this one right here, suppose the student comes to your office, then you can go through and see which ones they got wrong and discuss with them their quiz. So it's a pretty powerful tool and fairly easy to use. So going back to the modules now, after the students took that assessment, maybe then they watch a second video that reviews, in this case, it reviews some of the material from the first video and then goes over some more examples. Here's a practice problem. So the practice problem, students can either view it right through the LMS, or they can also download the PDF. So the idea here is that they would work the problem, try and see if they can do the problem correctly, and then there's a survey. And so a graded survey, basically the students get the point as long as they answer it. So in this particular case, there's a multiple choice question, and I just did it this way so that we can see two different ways to ask the question. So one is to have a multiple choice, have them choose an answer, and the other is to do it as they have to insert a number in the box here, and you can set the range of, say if the answer was 56, for instance, and you would also accept 55 or 57, you can set it up so it grades that as correctly. But again, the nice thing here is that you might use this even for, say they try something in class and you want to see, in other words, maybe you get halfway through a class, you want to determine how well their students are understanding something, have them do a graded survey. That also, by the way, shows you who's in the class, right? They get the point just if they're there and they put an answer in. And then you can go to survey statistics and see how many people got it right. Now, in a survey, there's no right answer. Some survey questions actually do have a right answer, like this one. The correct answer was actually 42, but other surveys don't have a correct answer. You know, what color are your eyes, or how tall are you, how much do you weigh? There's lots of surveys that won't have a particular correct answer. But as I said, in this case, they get the point as long as they just put in an answer. And so here again, you can see if students are understanding the question. You can just do this quickly in a class, put it up. One technique is to then have everybody who did it correctly maybe raise their hand, and then have the other people, just break into small groups of 2 or 3 or whatever, um, and have that person explain to them how they did the problem. So just to try and encourage some active learning, that can be effective as well. Okay, so uh, there's also a PDF with all the solutions to the practice problem. And as the instructor, you can publish or unpublish any of these. So the idea is that you can use these problems or substitute your own problems. And then there's a lab, and down here at the end, there's also a lab with the theoretical calculated solutions and some videos that explain how to do the test, how to build um, the ramp in this case. So just to give you an example, so here's a speed test. And so we'll look at that. And so just shows collecting the data for when the ramp is at a horizontal and now when it's inclined. Okay, in this particular case, it stalls. So that again either will be used so the instructor can see what the probable results are or what the expected results are, or again these can be turned on at some later time so the instructor can show the students some of the data that was collected correctly and analyzed correctly. So anyways, the idea here is just to have a variety of topics and follow this kind of format. These are not complete in any way at this time, but if you're trying out this module, um, then this just explains how to do it. I know that some teachers are planning to just test it out with some students and see how it works. And the idea is that this will continue to be developed as time goes on.